Regardless of your experience level as a musician, you've probably come across something called the circle of fifths. Many people, when they first see it, feel like they've just jumped from algebra to AP calculus. It's the kind of thing that, without the right prerequisite knowledge, might leave you with more questions than answers. To completely demystify the circle of fifths, I would have to make a very, very long video. That's all going to be saved for my online course, which is currently in development. Instead, I'm going to answer one hypothetical question about the circle of fifths, and that is, why fifths? First, some history. Many people say the Greek mathematician and philosopher Pythagoras came up with the circle of fifths, but there is nothing to back this up. We do know Pythagoras explored the relationships of pitches and harmonics, which is all related to the circle of fifths. The story I've heard is that Pythagoras was out for a walk, and he passed by a couple of blacksmiths hammering away, and he noticed the pitches they were producing were very harmonious. Supposedly they were producing a musical perfect fifth. And this led him down his exploration of the harmonic series. I don't know if that story is true. The earliest written record of a circle of fifths comes from a treatise by the Ukrainian composer Nikolai Diletsky called Grammatica, written sometime in the late 1670s. And we know that composers have understood the concept of a cycle of fifths since at least that long ago. For example, J.S. Bach's Well-Tempered Clavier, which is a set of preludes and fugues in all 24 major and minor keys presented in circle of fifths order. So what is a perfect fifth? To keep things simple, we'll just say it's a distance of 7 semitones. I could go into discussion of equal temperament versus justly tuned fifths, but it's just going to put us on a complicated tangent that won't be completely relevant. So like C to G is a perfect fifth. A power chord is a perfect fifth. So the circle of fifths takes all 12 chromatic pitches and arranges them in a circle of clockwise ascending perfect fifths. C is always noon, G is always 1 o'clock, D is always 2 o'clock, and so on. Once you go all the way around, it cycles back to C. So this begs the question, why perfect fifths? There are other musical intervals like seconds, thirds, sixths. There's 2 reasons. The first is that the relationship of a perfect fifth is massively important in the construction of harmony, the natural progression of chords, the relationships between different keys. All these things are part of a tightly woven web of concepts that all relate closely to how music tends to work. The other reason is that fifths are one of the only intervals with which it is even possible to arrange all 12 chromatic pitches in a complete cycle like this. So what if instead I make a circle of major thirds? A major third is a distance of 4 semitones. Starting on C, you'd have E, G sharp, and then technically it would be B sharp, but that's equivalent to C. So my circle only has 3 notes in it. All I've done is outline an augmented triad, actually. What about minor thirds? That's a distance of 3 semitones. C, E flat, G flat, A, and back to C. That's just a fully diminished 7th chord. I only have 4 notes, and I'm missing the other 8. What about major seconds? That's a distance of 2 semitones. C, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, and back to C. I've got 6 notes here, and I'm missing the other 6. This is just a whole tone scale, or a scale of ascending whole tones. What about minor seconds? So all semitones. C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B, C. That's got all 12, which of course it does. It's all semitones, so obviously you're going to hit all 12 notes. That's just the chromatic scale. What about tritones? That's a distance of 6 semitones. C, F sharp, C. That circle has 2 notes. I'm missing the other 10. What about perfect fourths? C, F, B flat, E flat. Wait a sec. I'm just going counterclockwise on the circle of fifths. Ah, why is that? That's because a perfect fourth is the inversion of a perfect fifth. In other words, C up to F is a perfect fourth, but F up to C is a perfect fifth. So it's like going in opposite directions on the circle. Really, I've tried all intervals at this point. If I try a circle of minor sixths, that's just a circle of major thirds going counterclockwise. A circle of major sixths is a circle of minor thirds going counterclockwise, because major sixths and minor thirds are inversions of each other. So the only ways you can arrange all 12 chromatic pitches in a meaningful cycle are in ascending fifths or fourths if you're going the other way around the circle, or just ascending by semitones. And that's not insignificant. This relates very closely to how we handle the places music goes to. A descending perfect fifth is about the most basic type of resolution you hear in music, and you hear it all over the place. I only talk about it all the time, like a G7 chord resolving to a C major chord. G descends a perfect fifth to C. There you go. Or a 2-5-1 progression like D minor 7 to G7 to C. D descends a perfect fifth to G. G descends a perfect fifth to C. The key of G major is closely related to the key of C major, partially because they're a perfect fifth apart, but also because they share 6 of 7 notes in common. G major has an F sharp in it, C major doesn't. There's tons of relationships that can be highlighted. They all tie together on the circle of fifths, and they all hold up against how music actually tends to work. But like I said, going into depth on all that is outside the scope of this video. So I hope that provided some clarity. As you may know, I teach private guitar and music lessons over Zoom to people around the world. I have a small number of openings currently, so if you're interested, you can message me directly on whatever platform you're viewing this video on, or you can go here and fill out the contact form. Nevertheless, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.